Okay. All right, here we go. By the authority invested in me, I hereby declare this meeting of the Conshohocken Borough Council duly open and ready to conduct any business that may come before us.
All rise for the prayer, please. O divine Master, in deep humility, we place ourselves, our thoughts, and our plans in thy hands. We beg thee to fill our minds and our wills with the gifts of wisdom, understanding, counsel, fortitude, knowledge, and piety. Help us not to think of self or personal desires, but rather consider the responsibilities laid upon us. Help us to promote as far as possible the welfare of our people and to treat them with impartiality and justice. Grant us the power to set a good example in thought, word, and deed, so that thy blessings will be showered upon us and the people we represent. Amen.
Amen. Pledge of allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you.
Right on. I don't have no announcements. President don't have any announcements, but we have two presentations to start this meeting off.
Just one announcement would be an executive session that'll be happening immediately after this meeting for purpose of real estate organization.
Okay. Okay.
Before we begin, first item, roll call. Ms. Sokolowski.
Here.
Ms. Barton.
Here.
Ms. Flanagan.
Here.
Mr. Stovey.
Here.
Ms. Leonard.
Here.
Ms. Patino.
Present.
Mr. Griffin.
Here.
And Mayor Frost.
Here.
Present. First item on the agenda, I'd like to call on the mayor and Ms. Flanagan for a presentation of a proclamation for the Flacos for 90 years of business in the borough. And this was a proclamation sponsored by Ms. Flanagan and, of course, the mayor presenting the proclamation.
You don't know where the cameras are.
They're everywhere. They're on you.
We're here tonight to present this proclamation to you, and I will read it forthwith. And it says, honoring Flacco's Shoes and Clothes for 90 years of business in the borough. Whereas Flacco's Shoes and Clothes store has been in business to cater to the needs of patrons for nearly 90 years, ever since the family's grandfather, Donato, immigrated from Italy in 1926 and first opened a shoe repair business on West 7th Avenue. Whereas in 1927, Donato's son, Vince Sr., also began to work at the shoe repair store when he arrived in the United States. And in 1940, Vince Sr. assumed full responsibility of running the family business when his father became ill. In 1950, Vince Sr. was joined by his spouse, Teresa, at the store. And whereas it was the year 1953 when Vince Sr. made the move to relocate the business to 119 Fayette Street and began to sell shoes. With 3 children and another on the way, Vince Sr. and his wife, Teresa, bought the property and moved the growing family into the apartment above the business. And whereas in 1965, the shoe store expanded to 121 Fayette Street and added both men's and boys' clothing to its array of wares, before finally, in 1970, the family moved the store to its present-day location at 110-114 Fayette Street, where it endured through this difficult decade. 1970s was a tough decade downtown. that saw the end of many other formidable and historically known Conshohocken businesses that were forced to close their doors. Now, therefore, it be it proclaimed that the Borough of Conshohocken recognizes this landmark family-owned and operated business, which has been an integral part of Conshohocken history and is inseparably woven into the community's tapestry. The Borough of Conshohocken extends its appreciation to and hereby honors Flacco Shoes and Clothes for 90 years of distinguished service to the Borough of Conshohocken. This 15th day of February 2017, Borough Council of the Borough of Conshohocken. Congratulations.
I have more of my brothers here. One's on vacation, the other one's nephew's down. There's only two at the store. Otherwise, they all say
So
thank
you're
you
representing
very
them well.
much
Yes.
for everything.
Thank you, Vince. Thank you, Vince.
Did you want to promote your
Congratulations.
100th anniversary sale yet? Or you want
I'll give it time.
Hi, congratulations. How are you? Good to see you. I haven't seen you forever.
Hey, how you doing?
You're welcome.
Okay, this is my youngest daughter, Chamber.
Hi. Hi, how are you?
Thank you.
Great scarf. I have one in my closet just like it. Do you get it caught on stuff?
I find food in it.
Business, you know? That's for later. Just for later.
We'll get it for.
That's too funny. It's the
That was
first
for
one
my
I've
dad
ever
from
seen.
before. No,
Besides
you
mine.
tell 'em
Did you get
it's
it in
good. I'll
Peddler's
keep
Village?
it afterwards.
Okay.
Oh, jeez. Good taste in scarves.
Everything.
Yes, thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you so much
Thank
for
you.
everything you do.
Keep with the good work.
Yes.
Yeah, my husband was there, what, 2 weeks ago to buy pants?
If you want to see how you look on television,
That is too funny.
tomorrow.
But 20 if you're Verizon.
66, I think.
Oh, yeah, you're on TV.
What channel?
It's 20 on Verizon.
Very nice.
7 o'clock,
7, yeah.
Thursday night.
They can't sleep, put it on.
Because we're so excited.
It's like you're in a tunnel.
Okay,
I
Rich,
haven't watched it in a while.
carry on, Rich.
Next.
Carry on with your next presentation.
Who's next?
Go ahead.
Oh, here it is. For PA1?
Mr. President, the next item on the agenda is a proclamation for Pennsylvania One Call. The Pennsylvania One Call is trying to recognize what it does, and they've asked municipalities throughout the state to do a proclamation, and of course, the mayor has the proclamation to read. No one is here, but it was something that they asked us to do and to send in. So, Mr. Mayor has the proclamation.
You want to read it, or you just
Yeah, you just read it.
highlights?
Yeah, you might as well read it.
Go ahead and read it, Mr. Mayor.
All right, whereas engineers, designers, excavators, and homeowners work to keep pace with the Commonwealth's unprecedented economic development by dialing 811 in advance of excavation to minimize damage to underground utility lines, danger to workers, environmental pollution, and loss of utility service to Pennsylvania citizens. And whereas this unique service provides easy one-call notification about excavation projects which may endanger workers and jeopardize utility lines by promoting workplace and public safety, reducing underground utility damage, minimizing utility service interruptions, and protecting the environment. And whereas this vital service, which began with only 60 utility companies, now services more than 100,000 excavators and 3,600 critical infrastructure owners throughout the Commonwealth. And whereas each year Pennsylvania 811 receives more than 800,000 notification requests and transmits more than 6 million notifications, providing protection to utility companies, their employees, customers, and citizens of Conshohocken. Now therefore be proclaimed that the Borough of Conshohocken recognizes the month of April as Pennsylvania's 811 Safe Digging Month, and encourages all excavators and homeowners to dial 811 at least 3 business days in advance of an excavation project, including even small projects such as planting a tree, installing a mailbox post, building a deck, or putting in a swimming pool, or even replacing a driveway. In order to avoid injury, protect the environment, prevent millions of dollars in damages, and to remind excavators that 3 business days' notice is the law for safe digging. This 15th day of February by the Borough Council of the Borough of Conshohocken. That's our proclamation.
Thank you, Mayor.
Thank you.
We will be advertising, this really is a public service announcement, the importance of calling before you dig and dialing the 811 number. So,
Will you put that on our channel?
yes,
That's a good idea, thank you.
everywhere, yep.
And they do point out some of the things you would not assume.
Right.
Taking a mailbox post or
That's-
something. So
Right.
you can
Right.
really do some damage if you don't double check.
Right,
Just getting the message out.
thank you.
You got these consent agendas. You want to do them one at a time, or you want to do them all at once?
Well, consent agenda, I'll read all of them, and then unless there's something to be removed, typically you adopt all. The consent agenda is the items A through G, the minutes of January 4/18, both special and regular, the January ending treasurer's report and payables, accepting Mr. Aaron Weems' resignation from the Planning Commission effective February 10, approve, adopt Resolution 2017-02 granting approval of 315 East 10th Avenue minor subdivision and land development, deny Brian Scott Kennedy's petition for abatement of penalties and interest from 209 to 214 business privilege and mercantile taxes, adopt the Dog Park Advisory Committee scope and duties and authorize advertisements for its members, and appoint Julie Dixon, Kristen Hughes Heel, and Jennifer McCracken to serve one-year terms on the Marywood Park Commission expiring December 31st, 2017. The agenda says 2 years. It needs to be 1 year so that it staggers, because the current members on council are 2 years. So that should actually be 1 year terms.
Okay, do I have a motion, do I have a motion to accept the consent agenda?
I have a question on G. Did we have, was it just 3? Oh, I'm
Just
sorry.
3, yes. Yes, they were the 3 that were interviewed.
I was under the impression we were going to have 4.
Well, the 4th will come in the future. We have to work on an amendment to the code for Marywood Park Commission. You'll have to adopt that, and that'll open up the 4th spot.
Okay.
So you are correct, but it's not yet time.
Okay.
I'll make that motion.
I'll second.
I got a motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Motion carried.
Mr. Griffin, there is no unfinished business or new business scheduled for the agenda this evening.
Okay. Okay, I guess we'll have public comment then. Have any public comment?
And if you would, please state your name and your address.
George
Thank you.
Gephardt, 131 West 12th Avenue. My request tonight is concerning the playground equipment that is to be installed at Sutcliffe Park. I know I'm a little late to the game, but ever since they did away with the Conshohocken recorder, I don't quite keep up with the news. But I see all the equipment has been torn out, and the new equipment is going to be installed, I would imagine, relatively soon. My concern is, since I'm down the park quite often with Little League games, my grandchildren and stuff like that, a couple years ago, the borough refurbished the basketball courts and did a beautiful job, and they are well used on the summer evenings, the warmer spring evenings. The problem being, as I see it, is they're used basically by a group of maybe 15 to 20, 16, 18, up to 20, 22-year-old young men. Now, this is not a problem in itself, with the exception of the fact that with this group of young men comes a certain language that we're all familiar with. And right now, the existing playground equipment, in my opinion, was much too close to the basketball courts. especially for mothers and grandmothers who are there with little kids, 2, 3, 4 years old. So I would ask council to consider possibly installing the new playground equipment a little further away from the basketball court so that there can be a buffer if possible, so that, the young mothers and the older grandmothers and grandparents with the little kids aren't 10, 15 feet away from the 20, 22 years old who, are certain, it's good that the basketball courts are being used, but this is the group that's down there. Like I say, I'm down there constantly, and I see the group of, young men that are down there. So I think if it's at all possible, just to get the new playground equipment away from the basketball courts as far as possible. And also, and another thing, I know with myself, my wife, my daughter, with the grandkids, while some of the kids are playing Little League Baseball on the 4 fields that are down there, if you have younger children with you at the same time and they want to go on the playground equipment, the location of the old playground equipment was substantially far away from where the baseball fields are located. So if we could kill 2 birds with 1 stone and get the playground equipment a little bit closer to the baseball fields, it would be a lot more convenient, I feel, for the parents of the children who are playing baseball and have little kids who don't want to watch the game, they want to go on the playground equipment. Okay, so that's my like I say, I apologize for being a little bit late with this request, because I know this has been in the process, but I have to blame the Conshohocken recorder for going out of business, so I'm sorry about that. But
You
Mr.
gave it a good
Gephardt.
time.
thank you very
What do
much.
you think, Bob?
But George is not late because George has been whispering this in not whispering, he don't whisper.
No.
But he's been whispering this in my ear for years about the language down there. And when that field, the senior league, is not very active right now, but when it does get active, hopefully when we do all the stuff we have to do down there, and we start using the field more, you got to be always worried about somebody hitting a line drive into that area too. Because
Can't hit it. We can't put it
Foul
too close to any.
now the trees are down, it's more
Yeah, it's
Right.
more
That's a very
open.
good
We took
point,
those
Bob.
2 big trees down, it doesn't reflect those balls anymore.
Right.
So George had a good idea, thinking about over there where the batting cage is. Maybe put it up there and move the batting cage somewhere, or maybe we could take a look at it and see where we could place it down there, the playground equipment.
The good news is the team, led by Ray in this case, and Paul, laid out just what he was talking about, moving the younger, everything's in age-appropriate groupings, and the younger kids are further away. I will say that the plan doesn't take it all the way to the batting cages. It just kind of pushes it away from where it was, but the older kids are closer to the courts and the younger kids are further. So there was some forethought to that in the design and layout of it.
So before we place that equipment, can we go down there and take a look, and if they could stake it out for us and we could look at it, the layout?
Sure, I mean,
Before we go
it's already laid out, so we could
Okay,
gladly
before
do
we
that.
place the equipment?
Right, because these line drives are important,
Yeah.
Bob. That would be something we better
I
check before
broke-
anything.
I broke a lot of fingers catching line drives
Carry
when my kids
on.
were growing up.
What do you think? What do you think, Paul? Can I say something? Excuse me a minute. Paul, what do you think?
She has something to say too.
Just to clarify the locations, the smaller children play area that Rich was referring to is basically just on the other side of the pavilion. So the one large play area is on the basketball court side of the pavilion. The smaller area is on the other side of the pavilion. We obviously could look at putting it in other locations, like you mentioned, up by the batting cage is a relatively flat area. Obviously, Ray would need to know if that's going to be looked at, or if you guys wanted to look at that, so we could play with the layout.
What George is saying, and George spent a lot of time down there, he was up and down there when we were down there, Bob and I were coaches down there, and he's right. We got to put it in the area where when people take their kids down there and their other kids are playing ball, they want to keep an eye on their children, you know? They want to be able to see them. So we should take a look at that. You got all three fields. You got the senior league, you got the major league field, but the majors, and then you got the T-ball all the way down. You can't do nothing about
But
that.
I think if the equipment is too far into the park, a lot of residents won't use it.
Well,
If you're talking about going up the hill,
no, we're talking about
We need
right,
basketball court.
where?
right behind the old snack bar. You know what the old snack bar is?
Yeah.
There's a batting cage. There's a hill there.
It's,
There's a hill there, and on top of that hill, there's batting cages. So we're looking, there's a flat part next to that also, that maybe putting that in the flat part there. So we have to, if we go down there,
We
Look at
could
it.
look at
Yeah.
it, yeah.
Mr. Stokely, you may recall, there was a lot of discussion during the budget presentation where Mr. Sokolowski went into great detail about the surface and the playground
Right,
equipment,
right.
and it was all laid out with forethought. So I don't want to give anyone misconceptions. He has spent a lot of time in the layout, the design, working with the contractor to make sure that it's in a certain area. We may not be able to move it too far, but Ray has put a lot of time into the locations and making sure that it's away from the kids. And in fact, that we're looking, and speaking with him yesterday, we're looking at sometime in March. So I'm sure whoever, we could lay it out and meet with him down there, whoever on council wants to physically get down there and talk with him. And, you know, he'll be able to lay out what his thinking was and why he did it that way.
yeah, I understand that. I mean, that's important, and Ray did put a lot of time into it, but the worst thing is when you do something and you go back and you look at it and say, we did this wrong. And it just, I mean, to have the residents' input that use that park, that are down there all the time, and it does, that's the most heavily used park in our borough.
But the reason I'm mentioning the time is if we're looking at March, we also have pictures that you've seen them online, you've seen them on the website. They're going to be posted down there. So we just need to schedule something in the next couple of weeks
I
for
understand.
people to get down
I
there.
Okay.
But I like to be involved in that.
Absolutely, not a
I also
problem.
remember some of our discussions with the nets to capture the foul
Yes.
balls coming up. And then there was shrubbery and different things that
Yeah,
would be sound
yeah,
barriers. So there was lots, I think that there's still lots, but I think meeting with him down there is probably, before we start placing, is probably the best.
You can put a couple of trees.
And the language is,
You may be able to compromise, you may be able to put a couple of the smaller
Trees.
kid rides just outside the T-ball field there, so like Deb says, parents can sit here and they can watch a game and they can watch the 2 and 3-year-old right there.
She had a question when we forgot her.
Huh?
let me finish a minute. The language is, and George,
related to the Sutcliffe Park?
but George is 100% right. I spent a lot of time down there, Bob. The language is really bad down there. When, in the start of the summer, when we start getting the league, when the league, established league's not kicked off yet, we get a lot of the older kids down there playing, which is great that they use the facility and they use it, because as soon as it gets warm, that place is packed.
I know.
It's packed down there.
Okay.
Yeah, hi, Bob. What I have to see down the park, I'm down the park a lot, as Mr. Frost knows. I spend a lot of time down there with Charlie. I do a lot of walking all hours of the night. Now, these basketball players, as this gentleman was saying, I don't know whether you guys know this, but you need to put a lock on your electricity. I mean, they use that for cell phones. I mean, they're charging everything on your electric. And the drug dealing that's going on near the bathrooms is getting out of hand.
Well, we want them to use the cell phone. That's why we put it down there.
Now, you want them
We
to
want
use that
them,
to
yeah, to
charge
charge
it?
their
Okay,
phone,
because
yeah.
I
We don't
thought
have
with
a
your
problem with
electric
that.
bill, you didn't want that. But there is
It's
a
minimal.
lot of
It's
problem with
minimal.
drug dealing down there at the bathrooms.
That's
we
something
noticed.
we have to address.
Yeah, and because I check the bathrooms, there's water's found running, a lot of times. I'll go in, I shut the water off. They leave it run on purpose to overflow the bathrooms if they're unlocked. And I see a lot of stuff going on down there that it's not nice. It's, nobody wants to bring children to that type of scenario. And it's done during the day and night, believe me. I mean, Charlie and I saw it right in front of us.
They walking or are they in vehicles?
Walking, there was two gentlemen. They were down there where the ball field was, right there at the little cubby hole where they sit. Right there, we were walking down, and two guys met. Money was exchanged, and a bag of white powder was handed. And I'm talking, it had to be at least a half a pound of either cocaine or methamphetamine or whatever was handed to the gentleman. He turned around and he saw my deputy constable T-shirt, a sweatshirt on that I had. They took off like two bats out of hell. Before I had a chance to even call the police, they were gone. But this has happened a lot. And when we have found pills down there, which I have turned into the police department, syringes, everything. So
Consider your complaint duly noted by
He's got it.
yeah, so I mean,
Don't make
somebody
more
needs to keep
patrols
an
down
eye.
there.
You know, because I'm here constantly. I mean, I'm here 2 o'clock in the morning walking, and you'd be surprised what I find.
I would
Okay.
appreciate that.
Not a problem.
Thanks, Debbie. Thank you.
Thank you. Any more public comment? State your name and address, please.
Yes, Marissa Buck. I live at the Londonderry Apartments. I just want to thank each of you personally for considering taking on the dog park and adding it to the borough's inventory of parks. I know it's a really small part of land, and it seems underutilized because it's tucked in the far part of the borough, but it is utilized by almost every single person that owns a dog at the Riverwalk and the Londonderry Apartments. It's the only place they have to run their dogs in the area. So once word got out that we were taking it to council, everybody got so excited. So I want to thank you again for that, and we're really excited to see what can happen in the future. So just thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Any more public comment? Well, with that, councils,
I do.
go ahead.
So I know this wasn't on the agenda, but I thought I would bring it up anyway. I know last meeting we had the presentation from the Y for leasing the Fellowship House. So on that note, I know we didn't have too much discussion about it, but I personally would prefer to keep the Y with the borough. I don't know how everyone else feels, but I would like to make a motion to say no to the leasing of the Fellowship House to the YMCA, if we could do that tonight. And then we could move on with what we want to do with the Fellowship House.
You don't have no lease with them, right? They were just talking about it, right, Mike?
Yeah, the YMCA made a proposal. I think Colleen's, to Colleen's point, I think it is a good idea, because I know the borough has been trying to move forward with planning for what to do with expansion or new equipment or whatever you want to do to invest in that facility. And if there's a possibility you're considering a third-party lease, then that would be a very different path than having the administration and then the borough do it itself. So I think, to Colleen's point, some decisive answer from council would be helpful so that Mr. Manfredi and his staff know which way to go. We don't have a formal lease to vote on, but if it's council's direction that we're not going to negotiate any further with the YMCA, then I think that would be an appropriate motion.
Yes.
So
that is my
Colleen,
motion.
I would second that motion to postpone conversations about the YMCA coming into the Fellowship House and start moving forward with borough plans to put our own team in there and get the Fellowship House up and running.
So that's second.
Okay, so
I
that's
got a
second.
motion in a second. Get
That was a
something
second.
Can I add?
Go ahead,
commentary? I think that because there are so many needs at the Fellowship House and would be best addressed by an organization that the Y seems to bring, or we know that they have brought to other locations, and with the experience and knowing what would be the right programs, how to cater to the community. I don't know that we would be able to develop a program or a team.
We actually have started that development some, and we can't move forward with it because everything is so indecisive.
Would it make sense to receive a proposal from them so we could review that?
I would say my vote on that is no. That's what I'm saying this evening.
Could you elaborate on your reasoning?
My reasoning
Not a good
is,
fit.
it has nothing to do with fit. We have the Fellowship House, we have Marywood Park House, we have the Borough Building. We have to make choices on all of them. I don't think it is in the interest of the residents or council to let go of the control of the Fellowship House to a third party. I think it's in our interest and in the residents to keep it under the control of the borough and do our best to get it up and running for the residents. That's my goal, along with the Marywood Park House.
Well, it would still be essentially under our control. They're
No.
just administering.
It won't be.
No, we would own it, but we wouldn't be under our control.
Right, we would end up, they would be leasing it in a way from us and operating the programs.
But they discussed how flexible they would be in terms of, and even had said to a point that we can draft what we thought would be fit.
So part of why I second the motion is this has been dragging on for quite some time. It went through basically all last year, and only up until the end of this year did we put new equipment in it. I think we need to make some decisions, and as Colleen said, we have difficult decisions, and giving the decision that potentially is to outsource Leland Mansion, outsourcing both of our major assets doesn't feel right to me. And I think that internally, in-house, we have a skill set that has put together a previous proposal that we can bring forward and take a look at from way back when. So maybe what we can say is let's postpone conversations about the YMCA as we look at our internal infrastructure and what we can get up and running, and maybe down the road, if that's the direction that we want to change to, but we need to start making forward progress with one of our major assets, and I think that's why I second the motion. I think we need to move forward.
And it's one of our most expensive facilities to fund. And, I mean, the Fellowship House has been good for our family of Conshohocken for years. I mean, I know my kids used it CYO. I mean, we had a lot of children get scholarships to colleges and high schools for using our facilities down there, and it was always Conshohocken residents using it. I mean, we get people from the outside, but I think our biggest problem is to get this thing, utilize this facility again, and I think the Y would not be a good fit for us because I think they would price themselves out for our community. And I don't think they could get the right programs for what we wanted to be in there. The way I see it, this is my opinion.
What my comment would be, and I appreciate how we're looking at this, and I think that cumulatively we all want to see the Fellowship House be successful. But we haven't been developing it. It's been dragging on for some time, to your point. But
No.
just one. This is with respect to the financials, and we can kind of confirm what these are. But from my understanding, it's already costing us, the borough, over $300,000 to run the programs, and you often hear from our constituents that the programs aren't there, they're not available, the classes do not fill, the hours aren't really conducive to many lifestyles, and we have what we would in exchange is for the $100,000 in rent, and they would run all the programs. So this is taking experience, bringing that in to something that we haven't been successful in doing and had more opportunities to do so. So
But we
I just
haven't-
think a proposal, maybe from both sides, to do a comparison.
We haven't tried none of our programs.
So,
We haven't got into it
It's not
like
that we have not been successful.
Exactly,
I'm not
because we
going to interrupt you, but I'm agreeing with Ike. It's that we haven't done
Got
it.
into it.
My goal is to implement and do what we need to do within the borough. We need, even if we leased it, we have to put so much money into that building. We're still, yes. So
Well, I thought the ones who
So-
do that themselves.
Okay. There's no use.
I think, why don't we just do a vote? Let's do a vote.
Rich.
The YMCA
We got a motion and a second. Give me a voice for if we're going to keep it or not.
You want a roll call?
Yes.
Ms. Sokolowski?
What's the actual
The motion would be to suspend any further discussions with the YMCA and to move forward with the borough's implementation of a program to run the FEL.
And a vote of yes would mean that you support suspending any further discussions with the YMCA.
I vote yes.
Ms. Barton?
Yes.
Ms. Flanagan?
Yes.
Mr. Stokely?
Yes.
Ms. Leonard?
Yes.
Ms. Tutino?
No.
Mr. Griffin?
Yes.
Motion carries. 6-1.
Motion carried then. Okay. Any more public comment?
Look at that money. It's okay.
I have an idea.
Oh, please.
You know, you are listed under silver sneakers for a lot of the insurances for the fellowship house, correct? And a lot of elderly people are interested in that. But unfortunately, the fellowship house doesn't promote it. Like, they don't advertise, yes, we accept silver sneakers. Now, you get a lot of the elderly people that are going up to Plymouth, up there, like Charlie, like he went up there because he didn't know the fellowship took it. They do take it, and that's something you can utilize, and the insurance company pays for them to come in there to exercise. So if you get the equipment in, you'll get the people in. And the insurance company will pay for it. Like, I could belong to 12 different gyms. They will pay. Silver Sneakers, Humana will pay to anyone I want to go to. So I can join anywhere, and they will pay that, the insurance companies. And that would take a lot of burden of the financial responsibility off the council. If the insurance pays for the equipment and, you know, for you guys to get it moving with the elderly people. I mean, it's a thought. It might work.
Okay, thank you.
That's a
good
Okay. We'll work on all that. But
Yeah,
we're gonna keep
seriously.
We're going to keep the fellowship house.
Oh, yeah, 'cause it's a nice place. I hate to see it go.
Okay. It's not going to go anywhere. Any more public comment? Well, with that, meeting adjourned. And we have another
Oh, it is
executive
executive session.
meeting.